The music of West Side Story is famous for how it captures and brings to life the complex themes of the story, from the emotions of the characters to the violence of the streets. The composer Leonard Bernstein was already well known as a conductor and composer for his work with the New York Philharmonic and musicals such as On the Town, and for his varied artistic interests and almost unending intellectual curiosity.
Musically, it's such a sophisticated and complex score. I can look at just a couple pages of the score for a couple of hours. The way Bernstein has integrated these different styles, these different intervals, these different melodies, and yet when you just step back and listen to it, there's something very simple about it also. And I think that is Bernstein's genius. He was able to capture the complexity of life, but present it in a very simple, aha way.
At the heart of the music of West Side Story is a single idea. It's a musical interval of 2 notes separated by 3 whole tones called a tritone.
This idea of a great story applies to the music, and this is where we see Bernstein, the musical storyteller, coming to life. Because to make a great story, you have to have one great idea. It holds everything together. When you think of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, you know, it's a very simple idea. It's usually a simple idea too. Ba 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 ba. It's actually just 2 pitches, and he repeats the first one 3 times. But with West Side Story, Bernstein takes an interval, the distance between 2 notes, and he uses one specific interval to represent all the conflict of the entire story. That interval that he uses is called a tritone. And in decades long past, in centuries long ago, it was called the devil's interval, because it's an interval that requires some kind of resolution. And without resolution, it just hangs there and it makes you uncomfortable. It's really a distressing interval. Bernstein uses that interval to create almost every theme in West Side Story. And he resolves that interval in all kinds of different ways. But in the end of West Side Story, it's 2 of those tritones that are just sitting like that, unresolved. So you realize that, you know, we haven't arrived at a moment of understanding or tolerance or peace.
The tritone is part of what makes the melodic themes of West Side Story so memorable, whether the melody of Maria, or Cool, or the opening notes of the prologue. It gives the audience a constant feeling of unease to match the violence and uncertainty of the plot. But Bernstein uses other devices as well to set the scene and bring the story to life.
Can you imagine seeing this musical for the first time? You have no idea what it's going to be like. And you don't really know where the beat is. It's kind of got this push into the downbeat, so nothing's really confirmed. You know, most musicals start with a great overture, but this starts with this very ominous, very nebulous, and you know, the emphasis is not on the downbeat. Classical music, the emphasis is usually on the downbeats, but in jazz, you know, the emphasis is always on the backbeat. So, you know, he's setting this up so you know that something's coming, so to speak, and that's how the whole show begins. The next thing that happens is that we get introduced to the Jets. This is their music, scary and cool at the same time. And then they sing about being a jet. It's not a straightforward kind of song. It's complex because they're singing 3 over a different rhythm. So it's a big sense of 3 going over something a lot faster underneath. So they're kind of, it gives you the feeling that they're so cool, they don't really even have to be in the same time as everybody else. And then we meet Tony, and he's going to be singing the song, Something's Coming. And, you know, he's a young man who, he wants things out of life, but, you know, he's at a point in life where he's not sure how to get them, but he knows there can be more from life. So this is a song that's filled with longing and hope and optimism, you know, sort of cagey optimism. And the way Bernstein achieves all of these characters is through the music, whether it's Tony, who has these beautiful melodic lines, but there's also an insecurity to them rhythmically. And so you realize that he's not fully cooked yet. You know, he's not a mature guy. There's something still growing and still longing in Tony. And that's what truly great music does, because as soon as you hear a melody, you associate it with a set of characteristics or a certain person.